In 2014, Reddit user Locksmith would create a post on the Halifax Nova Scotia subreddit. Little did he know, this would be the start of a bizarre rabbit hole that would span over years and lead to a top post on the subreddit. In the post titled, "So I was confronted by this mysterious man in Tim Horton's parking lot, Bayers Lake, this morning at 5 AM. Locksmith would go on to say, "He drove up to my car after going through the drive-thru this morning and spoke to me as if he knows me. Doesn't even tell me what he wants. Asked me about where I'm going and how long I have to chat. After telling him I don't have long, he said he has a once-in-a-lifetime offer for me and digs through his car for something. Then proceeds to get out and he's wearing all leather, gloves too. I'm thinking he's either gonna mug me or stab me, but he just hands me his business card and gets back in his car and leaves." Surprisingly, a few Redditors in the area would recognize this man and reply, "I live in the area too, and I've heard he propositions every dude who gives him a ride. Apparently he has a thing for younger men. I'm surprised he was driving his own car in this instance. I see him hitchhiking everywhere. He's definitely not all there, mentally though. Love the Glove, or Lovey for short, is a legend around the St. Margaret's Bay area. I bought a set of gloves from him a few years ago, and aside from him feeling up my hand, picture a handshake with a little tickle on the palm. He was pretty smooth talking and businesslike. Gloves were 10 out of 10 as well. From the other side of things, my friend gave him a ride home. The ride home ended with my buddy ejecting him onto the side of the road after he tried to sell him a set of alpaca fur gloves, and copping a feel in the process. I've also heard the gay hooker, gay porn star, MDMA, cocaine, heroin, drug dealer rumors. Also, a few years ago, he got my friend's brother to drive him to Reflections and he said he would pay him an E. The catch was my friend's brother had to take the E right away. In the same thread, one Redditor would post a link to his website, which would then lead others to find his YouTube channel, which is quite strange. Here's a snippet of Leather Glove Fetish. Soon after, the activity on this thread would die down, and talk of the Glove Man would go dormant until the 17th of January 2017, when user Beast Coast Lifestyle created a post titled, "Glove Salesman / Fake Taxi Driver." Here he would ask, "I have a weird inquiry I'm throwing out there. I'm wondering if anyone else has come across a gentleman in a white car, who late at night drives around offering drunk people rides home. He isn't a cab driver, and I don't think he tries to charge. I've had multiple friends encounter this guy. They, in a drunken state of mind, assume he's a cab and get in. The strange part begins here. He's a glove salesman on the side and gets the passengers to try on his gloves while he drives them home. We joke that he gets off from people wearing his gloves. No actual evidence of this, I've never been a part of any of these nights, but all these stories sound similar, and I can't help but wonder how many people around Halifax have also encountered this guy. He hasn't done anything to make him seem dangerous, just a little weird with how he acts and the whole glove situation. But if I know 4 people who've interacted with him, there has to be more out there. Again, more people in the Halifax area would flood to the subreddit to cite their own experiences with the Glove Guy. Don't know if I should be happy or sad that this has happened to so many people. I was embarrassed that I got in his car, but at least I'm not the only one stupid enough. He picked me up last winter when I was walking home from Cheers at like 4 AM. He was yelling at me from an intersection, but I just kept walking. Then he pulled up beside me, and I was so hammered I got in, thinking I had a free ride. He immediately starts going off about how I have nice small hands and how his gloves would be perfect for me. This is all the while not driving directly to my destination. He has me try on probably 4 different types of gloves. I told him I had no money to buy gloves, but that didn't seem to faze him at all. Eventually we end up in a parking lot of Quinpool Superstore. At this point I think he's going to either take a knife out or his dick out or both. I'm kinda on edge, but he's just still going on about his gloves. Then we have this exchange. Him: "So do you want to drive my car? To get a feel for driving with the gloves?" Me: "Hell no, I'm hammered right now." Him: "Come on, you're fine." Me: "No, you don't want me driving your car right now." Him: Come on, just for a sec. Me, regrettably. Okay. So we trade places in the car. I have some of those dumbass gloves on with holes in the knuckles. I'm taking it easy while driving around the parking lot with the gloves on, not even pressing the gas really. The lot was mostly empty, but there was a ton of snow piles. He's encouraging me to go faster. Come on, give it some gas. Trying to convince me to make sharper, faster turns to show the grip of the gloves. At one point he gets me to drive straight with my hands off the wheel, then grab the wheel and turn sharply. I oblige and somehow don't lose control or crash into anything. Eventually I ask him to drive me home, and he drops me off a block away from my place, gives me a card, and that's it. I woke up in the morning just thanking God I was alive or not violated. I'm absolutely not proud of my decisions that night, and I guess the moral of the story is even though I didn't die, do not get into a stranger's car at night, or ever. Here's a picture of the card he gave me, still gives me the creeps. Yeah, I have a vague recollection of getting picked up by the Gloves Guy while I was walking home from 12 bars. He was driving a black Dodge Charger that he told me he rented. He asked me if I had time to drive around with him, and I told him no, but he promptly took a turn away from my block. He had me try on gloves and a leather jacket, and took me to some parking lot with no streetlights where I thought I was going to die. He pulled out a bag of pre-rolled joints and offered me one, and I got out of the car and smoked it. While I was smoking, I was sending my friends my location on Find My Friends and Facebook Messenger because I thought he was going to straight up murder me. I asked if he'd drive me home, and he went on and on about munchies and how I had to try some pizza place that he was regular at. He kept mentioning how he rented a different car every weekend and needed it to keep his boys working downtown, which sounded like prostitution or pimping or something to me. I was pretty adamant about him driving me home at this point. I had him drop me off a block away and made sure he didn't follow me home, and then went to bed. So yeah, messy night. A few months ago I was walking home drunk, and he pulled up in his truck, around 3:30 AM mind you, and offered me a ride. Wondering what kind of person actually does that sort of thing, I let my curiosity get the best of me and hopped in. He had leather shit everywhere. He was getting me to try gloves on, and said in his fake Aussie accent, "Mate, you look like someone who needs a leather jacket." Still finding this hilarious, I called him out, saying something like, "Hey man, don't you think it's weird you drive around in the wee hours of the morning, picking people up and getting them to try on your leather products?" He didn't seem too fazed by that and lied, saying he was waiting to pick his friends up from the airport. Things got a bit more weird when he offered to let me drive his truck. Again, I'm visibly intoxicated, so I said he was off his rocker and to drop me off. He didn't protest too much, but insisted I take his business card. To be fair though, his leather gloves did seem to be good quality. I thought I was the only one. This guy picked me up on Spring Garden. He also asked me if I wanted to party and offered me weed and other drugs. Dude also parked at Quinpool Superstore and had me try on his gloves and told me to drive his car home wearing his gloves, which I did. Yeah, I had a similar encounter. I was walking home absolutely buckled from a bar, can't even remember which one, and he picked me up in a white SUV. My phone was dead and smashed, so I took him up on his offer. I'm 6 feet tall, 210 pounds, so I wasn't overly worried. He isn't that small, but I didn't feel like I would be an easy victim of anything suspicious. I would recommend people using caution because even though I did not feel overly threatened, he did put his hands on my leg a couple of times and have me try on these weird gloves and jacket. His goal is a sexual encounter, I can assure you of that. He tried multiple times for me to come out to his place and fool around, and asked me to hang out later in the week. The last time he put his hands on my leg, I said do it again and I'll rip your arm out of its socket, and he quickly changed his tone and let me out shortly after. This is just my experience and he could be harmless, but I do recommend caution because his clear goal is some sort of sexual encounter, and it's better to be safe than sorry. Interestingly, someone claiming to be friends with the Gloves Guy would post, "I personally know MJ, I talk to him on a regular basis and know what he's like and the type of person he is. MJ isn't a malicious person with an agenda or any ill intent when he picks people up. He's genuinely making sure people get home safely from the bars in the early morning hours and has no other intent than getting people home and promoting his business. He is very aggressive and forward when it comes to promotions. He may not be doing it the correct way, which he now understands. He's very aware of the comments being made about him on this website, and yes, tried to get another thread about him taken down before. He's acknowledging that the way he's trying to promote his product isn't the best way and will stop, and is going to scale back a bit to make sure nobody feels uncomfortable around him. He's a very unique and eccentric person and very bold in how he promotes his business and products. He's one of the most honest people I know, and a lot of these interactions are being stretched and manipulated to make it seem like he's a bad person. He's hurt that some people would feel the way they do about him, which is completely understandable. But their claims that the glove guy would stop or scale back did not last. On the 1st of August 2017, user Gloves Are Fucked would post a thread in the same subreddit titled, "Warning Men of Halifax, the Glove Man." In it he would describe his recent experience with the glove man, saying, "Last weekend I was on my way back from downtown walking alone on Spring Garden Road, scouting for a cab, when a well-dressed guy in a black SUV pulls up beside me and asks if I'm looking for a cab. I said yes. He asked me where I was going and I told him. He said he was headed in the same direction and that he offers rides around town on the weekend. Thinking this was some friendly guy running his own Uber service, I got in hoping for a cheap ride home and handed him $10 out of my pocket. I'm 6'3" and 200 pounds, so I didn't feel threatened. Stupid me." The guy's wearing a leather jacket and leather gloves, and as soon as we're driving, starts talking about the business he has selling leather gloves. He gives me his business card. At this point I think he's just a quirky salesman with a small business which he promotes on the side while driving people. When we get near my street, he tells me he wants me to try on some gloves. He is very excited about his gloves, and despite being a bit weird, I thought I'd humour him, give his business a chance, and then tell him I wasn't interested and be on my way. He gives me a pair of leather gloves, which are extremely tight to fit on my hands, and I start to put one on. Despite it obviously not fitting, he then prompts me to pull the glove right on and thread my fingers together to stretch it on properly, and shows me how to stretch the glove by pulling on it and making a fist. At this point I'm extremely weirded out by the whole thing, and we turn onto my street when he pulls over and encourages me to put the other glove on too. While this is happening, an obviously drunk girl walks up to the window to ask for directions. I go to open the door to talk to her, seeing a good excuse to dip, and he says, "No, don't open it," or something along those lines. I think he actually hit the window lock button too. She asks me for directions from outside the car, and I point her down the street. I turn back to the guy, and he says he has a better fitting pair of gloves for me to try on. At this point I should have gotten the fuck out of there, but I just told him, "Okay, I'll try them on, and I have your card, so I'll get in touch if I like them." This seemed like the least confrontational route out of his car. Again, they are ridiculously tight, and he has me stretch the gloves. This time it becomes extremely obvious that he has a fetish for young men wearing leather gloves, and this is how he gets off. As I stretch the glove onto my hand, he starts breathing heavily and telling me how to stretch it. I had to physically turn and look down at his hands to make sure he wasn't jerking off, because it sounded like it from his breathing and the way he spoke. I was pretty drunk and too uncomfortable to voice concern or contend with his requests. I felt like I would have been behaving weirdly if I straight up turned down his attempts to have me model and buy his gloves. I did what he said for a while and stretched the gloves, pretending to be interested in buying them for what felt like an eternity, and then said, "Anyway, that's great, but I should really get home. I have your card." At which point he acquiesces and starts driving down the street again. I had him drop me off a block away from my house and hid in someone's yard around the corner to wait for him to leave, which he did after idling there for 5 minutes. After this happened, I told my roommates in the morning and was absolutely convinced they wouldn't believe that there was any weird sexual shit involved. One of my roommates told me this guy is well known on the Halifax gay scene, and one of her friends knows who he is. I looked it up, and lo and behold, the previously linked Reddit posts told me all I need to know. This guy, who told me his name was MJ, goes around picking up young men, offering drives, and gets off by making them try on and stretch out his leather gloves. There are multiple other stories of him offering drugs and having them drive drunk or high while wearing his gloves and other fucked up things. At no point did he touch me, but he pressured me into an extremely uncomfortable situation for his own pleasure, and has done this to countless other young men. Some of the other stories do include unwelcome physical contact, If this guy was doing the same thing to young women, he would absolutely be locked up right now, without any question. In response, Beast Coast Lifestyle, the OP from the previous post on the Gloves Guy, would post a private message he received from the Gloves Guy himself. The accusation that I get drunk people to drive my car is untrue. I ask them if they are drunk beforehand, ask to see a driver's license, and do not offer to drunk people. We have only drive-in parking lots anyway. That will come to a stop 100%. I have had some of my passengers tell me they enjoy my company and they want to stay out and continue to party. Yes, sometimes I just want to drive around town and want some company. I've never forced anyone to stay in the car or taken them where they don't want to be. Most people know that I'm not a cab. Some people throw me gas money and some don't. I don't care. You've had a lot of people talking not good things about me, but also a few people talking good things about me. And believe it or not, but I'm being confused with someone else as well. There are many people who know me who would say that I am a good guy. I'm not a weird guy. I think I am just misunderstood and should be doing things a better way. I don't go around hunting to hurt people. I think people are overstating what really happened because I'm sure they've never come across someone like me before. Yes, I can come across aggressive when I'm promoting my gloves. Yes, I have gloves in my car and people try them on. Over the years I've sold 15 pairs. Whenever I pick up a guy, he is given a business card because I'm wearing driving gloves. I drive with driving gloves on whenever I'm driving and don't want the guys I picked up to feel scared. If I was ever thinking of hurting a person or up to no good, the last thing I would give them is my business card. I'm just trying to help to save some people having been picked up by the cops or freezing to death because a cab won't stop for them. Even those crazy guys that are not wearing a jacket and walking home, I stop and ask them if they need a lift so they don't freeze to death or get wet because it's raining out. I was without a car for years and many people have helped me out over the years, and I'm just passing it on. And yes, trying to promote my business. Some people don't have cars to come to me, so this is a good way to get my business out there. I'm getting to the point that I don't care anymore. I thought I was helping people, and those that feel differently, well, that's their side of it. Oh, and yes, I do have some of the most awesome gloves around. I have leather gloves that are ultra thin, unlined, that when on and using them, you feel you have nothing on your hands. I designed them and have China stitched them together. I am very proud of my gloves, 9 years next month. After finishing clubbing, I drive around downtown Halifax, seeing if there are any guys in distress. Those are the guys I try to help. Some want to go straight home and some don't. Some of them are talking about being horny and asking to be ? I'm bisexual and nothing is said to them unless they are asking. If they never ask, it does not come up with me and we set out to where they want to go and what they want to do. There are always two sides to any story. Many users would push back on this claim, arguing he clearly states he looks specifically for drunk men to pick up. Others would just continue to comment about their experiences with the glove guy that all relate to being picked up when drunk, offered drugs, asked to try on leather gloves, or being asked to drive while intoxicated. In the same thread, one Reddit user claimed the gloves guy had been arrested for pornography charges involving children, but while the name and area are similar, I can't find any concrete proof of these claims. What makes this claim even harder to believe is again in 2019, the gloves guy, who goes by Murray James, would resurface and post a rant on Facebook in response to the Nighttime podcast that did an episode on him. He claims to have purchased the rights to the podcast business name in response to the episode they did about him. I'll skip over this because I'm unsure of the conclusion of it all, but in defense of the accusations, Murray says, "To be clear, I'm not this stupid person. I've read and listened to all of what has been said about me for the past 3 years. I will own some of this and say yes, I have made some mistakes in how I handled promoting my glove business with you all, and I wish I could go back and do it all again, but in a better way, and am truly sorry for those that did indeed take me in the wrong way and took my passion for my gloves in a negative way. Not all of you, because I did sell a fair bit of my gloves over the years and received further sales, and I thank those people for seeing what I was trying to do. Those that don't think I am a real glove company and was only trying to pleasure myself are off base. My glove company is real, just like my gloves are real. I will say along the way I did get a little pushy to get people to try on my gloves, because I was so damn proud of my products that it creeps some of you out, and that was never my intent, and I'm so sorry you felt that way. Thanks for your time. Sincerely, the Halifax Glove Guy." And that's where I'll wrap up the story of the Halifax Glove Guy. It's an absolute rollercoaster ride. I think it's safe to say if we learned anything, it's to never take a lift from a stranger, especially if they're wearing leather.